Hey, this is Don from Padlock Technologies again with another video. This time we are going to talk about network security um, and how it should look in 2025 going forward. Um, Now, I'm going to put a coverage model here. Now, I'm not going to take credit for the coverage model, but it's a coverage model that I have used since I've gotten to network security. And when I do this coverage model with certain clients or just discovery calls and stuff like that, they rarely do this coverage model and they spend a lot of money in one area and not the other areas, which means their network security coverage is pretty much not as tuned in or dialed in, and they have some gaps in it. So we're going to go to the blackboard here and we're going to discuss the coverage model, what it looks like, and then once you see the model, you can kind of take this and see like, yeah, I may have some holes in my security coverage based on this model. So this is called a PDR model. So what we're going to do is start here, PDR model. Now we have P, we have D, we have R. So what this stands for is this is prevention or protection. Let's say prevention. This is detection. This is response. Okay. So we look at this on a graph. That's technically what it looks like. Now, when it comes to controls, we have your administrative controls, so admin controls. We have technical controls, and then we have physical controls. And if you look on a graph, it lines out like this. Okay. And just put a line over top of this as well. So what are your administrative controls? Basically, these are policy, right? So you have policies for prevention, you have policy for detection, you have a policy for response, how you're going to respond. A lot of people don't even have this involved. Like, this is severely lacking, right? When you ask somebody where's their policy for, how we're going to configure the control for prevention measures and stuff like that, they kind of look at me with a glazed look in their face and like, yeah, we don't actually have any of that. So that's the first problem. If you don't have anything everything should lead off a policy. So if you don't have any policies in place, you pretty much you're using this thing called bottom up strategy, which is basically your IT or your network department, network security department. They are basically randomly putting controls in place, doesn't follow any policy, doesn't follow any standard. They're just that is a catastrophe waiting to happen because they're just changing things randomly in your network, and it could actually bring down your network when they configure control wrong or they use a standard that is not as secure as another standard, stuff like that. So admin administrative protections or administrative controls are severely lacking in today's network security environment. Um, you can probably look in your own environment, and probably even the big Fortune 5s, Fortune 1000, Fortune 100s, they all have a problem here with administrative controls because a lot of people don't want to write policy. Let's just be honest. No one wants to write policy. And when it comes to picking, standards and compliance, I'll have another video about compliance because compliance doesn't mean you're secure. It just means you're compliant. Two different things, right? A lot of people don't even know what the compliance they're reading or the standards they're reading. They can't really decipher what it means. So even if you're trying to be compliant, again, you're not secure because rarely does anybody really understand the compliance regulations. They're vague, stuff like that. This is technical controls where everybody likes to live in. These are where your, engineers, security, cybersecurity people, cyber, they live in technical controls. They love living in cyber and technical controls. Why? Because those are things that we can configure. So from a prevention standpoint, this can be, IPS, this can be firewalls, etc. for prevention. This can be, whatever, EDR, if you want to call it that. This will be all that kind of stuff. So the technical people love this control, right? Now you notice I only filled out prevention, right? Physical controls, these are for prevention. This could be like gates, guards, And these can overlap into other things because guards can be in detection, cameras. Cameras would be more of detection because you can't really do anything. So cameras would be more in detection control. Now, here's the problem. As you can see, where do people love spending the most money? People love spending the most money in technical prevention controls. They love spending their money all in here, right? And here's why there's a gap. Because you cannot protect against something you cannot see. Very rarely do people spend money here, right? Rarely in detective controls, right? Because it's not the sexiest thing, right? It's, you might have logs going to a SIM and all that good stuff. Things like secure network analytics, all that kind of stuff. A lot of people don't like detective controls, right? Because it's only detective controls. If you don't, there's no prevention in them, right? So, but this is your visibility, right? Detective controls are visibility into an attack, right? You can't, I have a shirt that says you can't protect what you don't inspect, right? Meaning you cannot protect against something you cannot see or you're not aware of. And this is where the bad guys come in, because I don't care how much, protection you have, right? Or preventative controls that you have. If you can't see an attack, if you're not alerted that, hey, something bad is happening in your environment, are you truly protected? And the answer is no, right? And another thing, that if you can't see it, meaning if you don't have the correct detective controls in place, you can't prevent and you can't respond to anything, right? So this is why detective controls are very important, because it allows you to do prevention and it allows you to respond if something bad is happening. Because, hey, this goes to here, we see something bad happening on the network, right? And once you have detective controls in place, now you can properly respond to something that's going bad, which will help you further protect things in your environment, the assets in your environment. Because if you find something and you respond quick enough, you may be able to protect it before something bad happens. Or it could go back to you looking at your preventative controls and say, hey, did we tune this enough? Because luckily we saw it in time to respond to it in time to protect it in time. Right? So if we look at it from a number standpoint, this would be 1, 2, and 3. But most people got it backwards. They start off with just throw a firewall, just throw IPS, just throw this, throw that. And while that's okay from a gap standpoint, it's kind of like you're putting it in place and you're hoping that your preventative control can catch something. You're hoping. And I've seen some people put preventative controls in and don't even log anything that's going through. They'll put an IPS in here and they don't log it. Well, how do you know if the IPS even caught anything if you're not logging it? That's the stuff that I'm talking about. And this is why, when I have these conversations, as soon as I put this model out in front of their face, they start seeing the gaps in their actual network security coverage. So this is the PDR model. Again, I don't take credit for this. This is a model I learned, and I've always applied this no matter where I went to, or no matter what organization I've gone to. I've applied this same thing and have conversations like, okay, do we have adequate detection mechanisms in place so that we can respond and protect the asset before something bad's happened? Because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. It's about asset protection. If you think this is about, oh, we just putting security for the sake of security, it's not the point. The point is to protect the asset, because the asset is ultimately what the business uses to make money. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. How can we put enough security in place that we can protect the asset so the business can continue to make money from said asset. All right. Now I could have went into a lot more things, controls that go into each one of these brackets, but I just wanted to illustrate that, most people spend their money into the preventative measures and not the detective measures or the response measures. And when we're talking about the controls, the administrative, the technical and physical controls, most people live in the technical world. Administrative controls, which is policy, is severely lacking, and the physical controls, for the most part, don't lack unless you really are somebody that has no idea about, hey, you need to make sure your, server rack is locked. Like if you have problems with the physical control layer, you might need to get a new security officer in play if they don't say anything about physical controls. So I hope this video was informative. This is Don from Padlock Technology. Again, do not make the mistake in just focusing on technical preventative controls. I hope this video was informative. Don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you, and have a nice day.